Well, we are looking always to producing countries that they have space for new operators, and South Sudan is obviously one of those. South Sudan has additional qualities. The first is that has huge reserves, has a great fertility, is a country that is underdeveloped and is not so often visited by applicant new operator because of the political situation in the area, the fact that it is easily confused with Sudan, and then even more in the last 3 months, the confusion with Khartoum makes a disfavor to South Sudan because people think, Sudan, I don't go, when instead it's not Sudan, it's South Sudan. So we are here because we think that we can do good in a country which is the youngest country in the planet. And personally, I have a history in helping young country in the planet. When I was a young banker, I make the first loan in history to Vietnam. At that time was indeed a very young country because Vietnam was the reunion of 2 countries, which were North Vietnam and South Vietnam. And then at the end of the war, they were united by the winner, which was North Vietnam, in one single country, which in the aftermath of the war with USA was extremely poor and in great difficulties. So this first loan created a lot of momentum, a lot of goodwill, and remain one of my best souvenirs of my life. Well, you know, it's an epochal change. Majors of certain stature, for example, listed company, very large public companies like the majors in North America and in Europe, they are forced to divest by the plateau of their investors, which are protesting against fossil, and they somehow accept if the majors, they shrink every year in fossil print instead of closing down in one day, which obviously somebody should rationally admit that it's not possible to close companies of 50, 70, 80,000 people and employees. And so in this trend of divestment, this big field sometimes remain without operator. So they are causing a great problem to the host country because they were used to deal with a very serious organization, plenty of cash, generous and competent with high technology, and then they find themselves to deal with fields that they have a great complexity of technology, and they don't have the human resources, not the capital, to manage this field instead of the major that has left. So the only solution remain an alternative operator, but alternative major do not exist. Alternative medium operator are very rare, if not very, very rare. And then instead they exist independent company like us. These independent companies, of course, create a problem instead for the unions and for the workers and for the suppliers in the country, because they said before we were used to work for $1 trillion company, and now we are ending up with a smaller company. What will be with us? So then the consequence that we have is for the government a dilemma. What we will do? We are losing the big major, where we will find the competence, the cash, and the continuity to manage these resources. So it's a very delicate moment. So one of the alternatives, which of course we are offering ourselves as a candidate for marriage, but depend on the host country to accept this proposal, is to use a serious junior and to work for the development of the same fields that they were managed by major, but now they are left idle or non-developed. When I say not developed, in the sense that maybe production will go on with the same standard of quantity, and then with a natural decline, so the oil production, instead of increasing, will decrease. Well, you know, normally to go to a conference is even dangerous to make transactions, because you come out in the public and then jealous counterparties or competitors can spot you before you have really done a deal. But in reality, in this case, we hear from the official of the host country, so South Sudan, that they are happy to use this conference as a moment, critical moment, crucial moment to sign deals. So they are saying, well, you know, we are out of the door of this conference hall to make deals with you. So this is extremely encouraging and is nearly unique. And so we are very happy to have shown our support to the country coming here in Juba for this conference. And you know, another thing that I want to add is a tremendous appealing to work in a country like South Sudan. South Sudan has the reserve of a giant oil producer, but has instead the social situation, the security situation, the medical and hospital and infrastructure situation of a very early stage emerging country. And so there is so much to do with the oil profits from oil production and the revenues from oil production to make for the people of South Sudan. And this is something that is very exciting for Zenith, which has done always in the country in which has been before social works, which is, by the way, normally compulsory for any license of fields. But we have done enthusiastically. You know, during COVID, we have given as a present a gift a ventilator in certain countries, which you know are the equipment to permit you to survive when you have COVID pneumonia. And in other countries, we have sponsored the football club, which is one of the most successful African form of sport and entertainment. You know, the footballers from Africa are becoming worldwide famous, and they are in all the top teams in UK and in Europe. And for very personal high revenues and pride. So there is so much to do in Juba, which is still a very early stage society and city. And we are very proud in case to help the local community with the revenues of our oil production.